All right. Looks like audio's good. Looks like everything's working. So what are we doing today? We're just kind of hanging out, working on Linux labs like we normally do on Sundays. I got a couple of hours before I got to go leave for a little family thing, so I'm just gonna kind of work through some of the labs. I think the other day we were doing Ansible labs. Let me go check. Let me see. Let me see what we got up to. I don't remember. We were doing Ansible labs with the group, and then we were working through some stuff. Yeah. I think what we'll finish up the Linux labs, because I think what happened was we got to the end of some of the, where did we get to? We got right down here through all the Loki stuff the other day. So even though I've been gone for a while, really the next part to kind of look at was I think was doing some of the security stuff. I think we had done Kafka to a message queue, although we can do that if you guys want to see that. And then let me think about this. I think, yeah, did we start some of the security stuff? Yeah, maybe we'll just play around with some of the security stuff that we haven't touched in a while. That might be a good way to go, because I think we ended on the Slurm stuff last couple weeks ago. So the way we'll do this, I'll pin the messages that we're working on. I'll pin the stuff that we're doing. If anybody wants to do it with me, they can. So I'm gonna pull this up. Kafka to Loki logging. I think this was the most recent one that we did. And we'll just see how it goes. So there it is on the Twitch side, and there it is on the YouTube side for anybody that wants to do this with me. And if we start off here, it says your team is going to be integrating an Apache Kafka message bus with an existing infrastructure. So you presumably in this case already have this infrastructure in place, right? And this is what our infrastructure is going to kind of look like. We're going to say that we have an existing company infrastructure of Loki to Grafana, and then some users or customers are going to look at Grafana. You know, they're going to connect in and see whatever dashboards you give them, kind of like our dashboards over here. We can only present the information we want them to see, right? That's kind of a nice little way to do it. And what we're going to do here is we're going to say that, like, maybe we want to integrate Kafka, which is a tool that allows for, it's a message bus that allows us to have producers sending in messages and consumers reading messages out of topics, right? That's kind of the thing that we do with it. So this is the kind of architecture of our lab, like what we want our lab to kind of to look like as we go. So we come over here, and it says that you are setting up a new environment to facilitate this deployment. Again, your team wants to deploy Apache Kafka and try to see how it works. Maybe some new architect comes in and wants your company to start going a new way. Maybe some decisions were made or some testing was done around these technologies to see how they would integrate with what's already there. So this is something that can be done. This is something that's very kind of straightforward as far as that goes. So let's anyways come down here. Your team has determined they need to offload and monitor Linux logs in your environment. So that's something they're also doing. And you know that Grafana can do that as a visualization tool. So we're going to deploy Grafana first, right? We're going to deploy this part because in the lab, we have to make this part and just pretend that it's existing company infrastructure. I still think that's a valuable thing to do. If you never made Loki into a server or connected Grafana over to it, I think that's a good thing to understand. Get a node to set up Promtail and send over messages. That's a valuable kind of set of skills to be able to get. Like in our case, we can see all of the failed logins. Somebody's really trying the last 6 hours to get into my systems here. And they're trying it as the root user, which is interesting because you can only try it as a root user for very long before you get kicked out. And the pattern here that's coming through is kind of interesting. It's probably some botnet that's found us and trying to get in because it's rotating through different IPs and then until they get banned, you know. So anyways, that's not a big deal. It's just that we can monitor it, right? We can monitor and track things and ensure that the behaviors are what we expect. Hey, Quartz, how's it going? We are, yeah, we're just, Sundays are lab days, so I'm kind of starting off on this lab. But everything's good. Just got back from, what were we, 10 days? I think the wife and I were like 10 or something days in Mexico. When did we leave? We left on the 10th. Got back on the 19th. Is that right? No, we got back on the 18th. So we had a little bit of a rest day yesterday and today, but it's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 9 days. Yeah, it looks like 9 days down there. We went to Chichen Itza. We did all kinds of fun stuff. I got all kinds of pictures and stuff. I probably should do a stream this week where I kind of just show you guys a bunch of pictures from that, because it was pretty good time. We had a lot of fun. Hung out. We did a bunch of wrestling down there, and then we did a bunch of sightseeing and hanging out at the beach and all the kind of stuff that, like, a lot of us brought our families with us, so it was like family time too. One of my buddies, they even brought their baby, so then everybody was hanging out with the baby. So that was always fun. All right, so back over here, we're going to deploy Grafana. Let's do that real quick. So there's some Grafana docs if we want to read about Grafana, see what that looks like. But we can also just follow the instructions in the lab. So we're going to make sure that we have a couple of tools that are needed. Some of them are already installed, I think, in this newer version. We could probably clean that up and not need the first install. That's fine. Then we're going to download and make sure that we have the repository set up for Grafana, right? If you want to go into that, there's another lab that kind of digs into what we're doing. And then we're going to install Grafana Enterprise and get it up and running on this box, right? So it's going to run. It's going to hopefully do all the things we need it to do. And then we're going to start it up, and we're going to make sure that the system is running the way that we expect. So daemon reload, restart Grafana, check the status of it. We see it's running, but if we check the port, it takes a few seconds for Grafana to really start listening on a server. I'd say about 10 seconds or so. So let's give it a few seconds here. When we see port 3000, good, then we will be able to connect in on port 3000 right here and change the visuals, change the username and password and all that good stuff. So we're going to be able to get in there. Oh, a little bit of slowdown there. Admin. Now we got to change it for the first time. Never. New password. Okay. Boom. New password updated. And we have never Grafana on the system, right? So Grafana is here. And that is running on this box. Change the user default, admin and admin, right? Then you can look around the UI and do some other stuff, but there's not really anything going on just yet. We're just kind of hanging out here with the empty Grafana server. So let's go to the next part of our lab. And our team has decided that we're going to use a log aggregator called Loki, and your job is to get Loki up and running. So we're going to install Loki and verify that it's running. Loki will just run as an open API if we let it, and then we can just throw data at it. Data can be just pushed right into it. We can secure that with a zero trust model doing certificates, but we're not going to do that in this lab. I'm going to do that in a future lab. I do have some certificate labs where we do some stuff with certificates, but I haven't set one up for this yet. But we've got that done, and then we're going to check to make sure. We're going to download Loki, get in there, and make sure that it is executable. And then we're going to copy in a configuration file that I made, and we're going to copy over a startup service file, right? So then we go look at the configuration file that I made. It's super simple. It's literally just pointing at our own machine. We didn't change anything else in here. Although I do want to note that we have reporting enabled false, so we've turned that off because that's just a weird way that they have that set up in their configuration. And then our Loki config is right here, and this is how it starts up the service right down here. So opt Loki, there's the executable, and there's the config file we just looked at. It's really that simple to do a startup script in systemd. If you just need a one-shot simple startup, it's pretty easy to do. We'll verify that Loki is running, it's enabled, and we don't see port 3100 yet. So, sorry, it's not on yet. We have to actually turn it on. I didn't turn it on yet. Turn it on. And then we go look, and there it started. Good. And here it is listening. So good. I was getting ahead of myself a little bit there, so that's kind of my own fault. So now we hit check. That's good. Move this over a little bit. Move this over a little bit. We shrink that down. We don't need as much page for this. Have more page for the lab. So it says in our research that we find that Promtail is a good tool to push data into there. So we're going to do that. We're going to install Promtail. Same way, give it a directory out in where we normally put third-party applications and tools. A lot of the times, if you're ever looking for an agent on a server or you need to find a version of something, this is where you would go do it. Over on YouTube, Ali, how's it going? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. We are going to download into here the Promtail tool. We're going to unzip it, and then we're going to copy in the config files and look at them. And the config file for this is super simple. We're going to scrape syslog at varlog syslog, and we're going to scrape the auth log from varlog auth.log. Now those locations, this file, I changed this myself. Normally, the config file that you would download is going to be set up for Red Hat, because Red Hat's the big, most people do Red Hat. So with Red Hat, you would probably find something like it would be set to varlog messages, for messages, and it would be set to varlog secure for your auth type stuff. By the way, I always show you guys that is very possible for you guys to set that and change that configuration of where things are going by setting up your rsyslog daemon. And I have a couple of labs to show you guys how to do that if you want. Ali, if you have some free time, can you show us an example of the final project for sysadmin? Yeah, I can set that. I can show you that, Ali. Let me do some labs a little bit, and then if I have time, we'll get to it. Yeah. Let me see, actually. Let me go check real quick. I don't know if the guys posted theirs ever. I know people did it. I know people presented it, but I don't remember if anybody actually set them, like in presentations. Or did they do it down in... not the lab environment, I don't think. Yeah, I'd have to look at it. I don't see any right now. I'll have to find them for you. I'm pretty sure the people that did them put them in there. If not, I could probably find, as people sent them to me directly, and then the people that presented them, I think, were okay with me kind of showing you guys. Actually, give me 1 second. Let me try to find one other. I'll show you one I think that was good. Give me 1 second here. Let me see if that one. This is one of our guys that did this. That's a write-up, but that's not the exact. Hold on. Still looking. Hold on. I think one of our guys did it as just an individual. This one, let me see. This is similar to one of the guy's finishes, but that's not his actual. Let me see if I can send the one. I think this was so. What I can show you here. Let me see if he had the final project on here. I'm pretty sure he did. One of our guys did this. Hey, Colchis, how's it going? I got a question a minute ago, Colchis, about like the final projects and if anybody had a good example. And I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure that one of the better ones was. Linux admin. Oh, so this was him doing the project, right? So here's the project as he was building it, and he designed. So one of our guys designed the web page, which is right here. So this was one of the projects that one of the guys did, Ali. Although this wasn't required or anything, but he did this. He wanted to do it in Go. He wanted to give people the ability to, join or do any of these things, Killer Coda Labs, Book of Labs, find links. We could verify, like if you wanted to verify that I was a person and that I had done the course, you could do that. And this right here is linked directly back to, this was a very high level project. Like he worked very hard on this. And it was far along in that while it's just a web page, and you might say, well, this wasn't about web page design. It wasn't. Our course is not about web design at all, guys. Our course is about systems administration and then also systems engineering on the other one. What he did with that was that all comes to me. I download this into my environment, and I actually run it out of my, right here. So in my home lab environment, let's just go back over here. Where's that here? It's in my prod system, so. Oh, my password, Jesus. Because I harden these, so they're kind of annoying. Anyway, but then it's keyed. Anyway, so we hop into my environment, right? And over here, su2 Scott, which is my user that I do all my Kubernetes stuff with, right? We can see all the nodes in here. kubectl, get pods. We can do -a. It's fine. And in here, we've got a bunch of stuff doing a bunch of stuff, but then we have our front end Nginx that's running. And these are the static ones that were for some testing because we redid our website just 12 days ago. And I think we actually have to redo it as an update one more time. But our website works on multiple places. And if we go in here, when we do the deployment, we actually download. So I actually pull down the version of our website, right? So here's our PLS, and I forget what PLS stands for, but it's something about our website, right? Prolog Linux site or something. Anyways, and then I clone it into here, and then in here I generate the new image, right? In fact, if I just do a history, you'll see our last deploy of it. I pull it down, I build it, I tag it to my local location, so that's like my local repository that I just run here. I push it up to our local repository, and then I delete the old deployment, and I redeploy it with the new deployment, which is actually... We just use a V2 each time. We were going to keep setting up... Whoops, not VIP. VI. And this is our deployment. So when we lock it down, when we deploy it, we use... We had a security context and we were running as user 1000, but we removed it. Basically, we just don't allow privilege escalation, so you can't do anything as the root user. And then, did we pull the other part out too? We also had it immutable at one point as well. You couldn't write anything in there, but that's fine. And then this just gets run through, exposed to my outside internet, and then cloud. Oh, what the fuck is that in AWS? What is that tool in AWS? It's CloudFront. CloudFront stores it and then reads back from my main page. So this is coming all the way through Amazon CloudFront as a buff. It's not a buffer. God, why can't I think of that word? It's literally can't think of the word right now. It's a cache. It's cache. CloudFront caches all of this, and it only comes back to the main system if you do something like this. Like if you do a verification and you want to verify that somebody actually did something in there, then you could come in here and do that, and that actually has to be active. All these other pages are just static pages, right? About the group and all that kind of stuff, right? We're at about 4,100 members now, but you know, he keeps updating this as we go and all that good stuff. So Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty fun little. This was his project. His project was about the group and how to. Where does he have the like join? So this was like all of the stuff about us, you know, that you can connect to. But yeah, he just does it in a little Go container or whatever. Pretty good little project. He got kind of he checked with me and asked to go a little off the beaten path with this, and the reason was he wanted to contribute to the group a little bit. What I really want to see from the group for most people would be just building something or deploying something in a system and then being able to show what you built, right? Because even though we're doing Linux admin stuff, being able to build things and show that you can work through that process is a valuable thing for a company. So it may be the thing that gets you guys hired, right? It may be the thing that helps you get the stuff. He also did our security engineering course, so here's a bunch of stuff for that as well, if you wanted to see that. You were curious about the security automation project would be at the end and how we share it to people to test and use. Well, it depends what you're doing, Ali. If you have something where people have to kind of like sign up and test the security for you, you could just ask in the Discord and people would probably do it. Typically what we do, like when we finish the security engineering group, I think we had 3 people that wanted to present, and then those people just presented and talked through what they had shown and what they had done. So that's kind of the way that works. All right, let's get this built real quick because we only have an hour in this environment and there's only 41 minutes left. So we've got Promtail there. Let's copy in the service file and do a daemon reload and start it, right? And then we'll check Promtail. Promtail's running and we see that it's running down here. So good. And now we've set up all the pieces so we can go create a dashboard real quick in there. I'm going to keep this. And we got to do a couple of things in this right here. It tells us how to do it right here. So we're going to create a data source for Loki. Then we're going to import a dashboard. So we got to go do these 2 things. So if you were following along, this is where it gets a little fast for people, I think. But we got to go make a connection. We need to connect from something like Loki, right? Because that's what we're using in our environment. And then Loki is going to be a data source for us. And we're going to use a local 127.0.0.1 on port 3100 for Loki, right? We can call this Loki whatever we want, like Loki Prolog, it doesn't matter. Come down to the bottom. When we save and test it, if we were able to connect, we'll see a data source. That's good. We want that. We come back over here. We've saved it. We're going to come down here and we're going to go to a dashboard and we're going to import a dashboard and we're going to get that number that we just had and we're going to load it. It's going to say it's called Logs and Apps. That's the one that we're downloading. And we're going to use that imported data source. And now we can see all of our auth and all of our syslog information for that server. That's cool. That's good information for us, right? But now we need to kind of test this and see if we can get more information out of this. We want to connect in some other Kafka setup and maybe send in more information to Loki so that we can see it at Grafana. So let's go over here and let's do that next part of this lab, right? It says your team is integrating Kafka with an existing Loki infrastructure. So let's set up Kafka. We can find a bunch of the answers. You don't have to write it all yourself. And here's our solution. We're going to do a kubectl create a namespace for Kafka. We're going to do a kubectl get all that's in Kafka. There's nothing in there because we just made the namespace. That makes sense, right? If I just made like a house, I wouldn't expect to walk in there and find a bunch of furniture, right? That doesn't even make any sense. So then we keep going down. We're going to see, we're going to create the Zookeeper portion of this, and then we're going to look, and here's all the stuff that got created with Zookeeper. There's a pod that was downloaded. There's a service. The service provides a front-end way for us to always hit that service, even if the back-end pods change. Services are the things that you point at inside of Kubernetes. You don't typically point at directed pods because a pod could be alive now and dead later. We don't know what its IP address is going to be, but your services will always point to pods based on labels, which is super useful, right? Like now we have a way to hit and always get to a moving target. So now we go and we look, we see all that. We're going to describe that service, and we're going to see that that service points back at this endpoint on port 2181 because that's what Zookeeper wants. We're going to go make another service and deployment for Kafka now, and we're going to describe its service. Here's the Kafka broker. but it doesn't have an endpoint yet because the endpoint's not set up all the way yet. So let's give it a few seconds. We go again, and here is Kafka broker still coming up, container still creating. So we wait a few more seconds, run it. Now he's got an IP address and it's the endpoint. So that's what we needed. Kafka is able to be hit on an endpoint. That's good. So we're going to install a tool called Kafka Cat. We need that so that we can talk to it off of Bash directly. And then we're just going to go ahead and make sure that we forward the right port on our system to go, so that when we talk to it, it's going to go and send the information over there. So that's good. And then we can send some information in there. Do it a few times, and we'll get some connections, and then we'll go look, and we'll see those connections in there. And maybe say, Scott, I want to make sure you're not BSing me. Can you go ahead and send one of those again, but maybe change the message a little bit? And I say, yeah, this is my Prolog message. And then we go read it, and then now there's our Prolog message at the end, right? You see that? So we are sending information into Kafka, and we are reading it back out of Kafka. There's another lab that walks through that. If you're like, hey, we're moving a little fast. I get it. We're moving a little fast, but this is also something that's not designed to be super basic, right? Some of this stuff you got to go spend a little time with the individual components, and then now we're just pulling it all together to get to this infrastructure. We have now tested that we can send messages in and pull messages out, but the Promtail over here is not sending messages into Loki yet. We need to go modify that configuration a little bit. So let's go do that. Right? There's nothing coming in over here. We can't see that yet. We will be able to here in a little bit. But let's test. So your team set up Apache Kafka and test the basic functionality. Good. Now you need to set Promtail to read the messages going into the topic system logs. So we're going to make a topic system logs and send information in there. And then we're going to send them up to Loki for storage and later use. So I'm just going to make over here a bunch of random messages, right? Every 3 seconds, this is going to run. And this is actually going to lock up this terminal now. And I'm going to come up to the top here and hit tab and open up a new tab, right? It says right here, open a new tab at the top of the terminal. I'm not stepping off of the lab in any crazy way. I'm going to cd to op Promtail. I'm going to go VI that configuration file that we were messing with a little while ago. Remember I showed you guys that this was like very vanilla. This is something that I had created. And we're going to go to the bottom of this and hit O, if you're using VI like you should be. We're going to hit O, and we're just going to copy this in there. So we're going to go Control-Shift-V. And now we've got a new job, right? And the job name is Kafka. It's going to go off of node 01 on port 31,000 for the broker. That's where it's going to find the broker. The topic that it's going to use is system_logs, right? Capital system, capital logs with an underscore. And the label is going to be the job is called Kafka. We're going to need that job label Kafka here in a second, but escape :WQ. Anytime we change a config file and we save it, we need to restart the service. If you do not restart the service, guys, it doesn't matter what you changed in the config file. So now if that works, this is sending data in over here, and I'm going to refresh this page real quick. And some of you earlier saw that I only had auth and syslog, but now we also have Kafka. And now Kafka is sending in this message. There's our Prolog message, but now here's all of our most recent messages. So I may come over here and say, well, that's cool. Scott's maybe messing with us though. Maybe this isn't exactly what it's showing. Maybe if he comes back over here, and then we go back a little bit, can we find, can this message that he was just talking about here, right? There's going to be a message coming in. What if I change this and said, this is proof that we are doing this live, right? Maybe I'm saying this is proof that we are doing this live. And I send that in, right? And that goes into Kafka, and then boom, look, it gets read out by that Promtail. And if you're saying, Scott, that's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of moving parts here. There is, right? We're over here on control plane producing messages. We're sending those messages into a topic called system logs on Kafka. You can have a bunch of topics. You can have a bunch of producers, and you can have a bunch of consumers, right? Kafka in of itself works exactly like this, guys. Producers send stuff into topics, get read out on the other side. You can think of it as the red line and the blue line and the yellow line and a subway system around your local area if you want, right? We don't have subways in Phoenix, but you have the lines. This is all the system message, but Kafka is what we call a message broker or a system bus, right? And then as this is happening and as these messages are occurring, one person is catching them, almost like they're taking photos of the trains as they go by, and they're alerting out to Loki, who can then let us know if things happen in our system. It can let us know if events occur that need to trigger other things. And you might say, well, Scott, hold on. This Loki tool over here in this Grafana, they don't actually trigger anything or do anything. All the work's done over here. And I say, yes, this over here can be a closed-in system. Control plane to Kafka, some producer is watching and then triggering hits to an API or restarting a server or building new nodes, right? This could be a user triggering stuff off of a website. There's so many things you can do with Kafka, guys, and producers. And at the end of the day, you're just sending messages in and then you're pulling messages out for work, from other people. But this over here is like the recording of it. And over here, we're just kind of recording those things happening as they happen, And then maybe that recording is going out to like a dashboard and then, being presented. So maybe you're counting it up. We're actually just visualizing it. And this might not be super useful, but maybe I expect one message every 3 seconds all the time. And over the course of an hour, right? An hour would be, X amount of seconds. I would expect so many messages to come in during that time. And then if I was above or below that by a certain margin, that may trigger some kind of, all kinds of things. But this is a way that you can monitor usage on your systems and monitor usage from people that are connecting and all these kind of things, right? So it's a very useful thing to kind of understand what's happening here. And we actually did this lab in our security tooling. And it says, look at you learning Linux configuration. You integrated Kafka with an existing Loki to Grafana solution using Promtail to pull the messages from the system logs topic and view them via a dashboard. So these are kind of things that, and you might say, well, Scott, like how solid is this? How big is this in the industry? How much time should I spend with this? Well, I tell you, like when I did my AWS Developer Associate a few years back, this is huge. Serverless land. Serverless land is really, really big on event-driven architectures. And their event-driven architecture follows this is the message bus event bridge, right? But event bridge could just be, yes, that is moving. Yes, it's super annoying. Event bridge is, look, it's just senders sending stuff in, right? And then rules out here being executed by whatever things are listening to that topic. And the serverless patterns then, if we go look at their actual workflows, do deal with MSK, which is Managed Services for Kafka, right? And we can go look at the example codes here, and we could say, you know what, I really want to see some patterns. I want to see some patterns that Scott's talking about here with a service like AWS Managed Services for Kafka, MSK. You guys see it? MSK right here. And here is Managed Services for Kafka. So you could be sending your Kafka bus, these logs that we were just looking at, into AWS, right? Look, serverless Bengaluru. Isn't Bengal a type of tiger? Anyways, you guys want to hear something funny about our trip in Mexico? Two things. One, I didn't think primal fears were real. Primal fears are definitely a real thing. And I did not think they were real until my wife got a hold of one of these little Jaguar whistles. You guys know what a Jaguar whistle is? Well, two primal fears. One, Jaguars. Primal fear. Terrible, terrible sound. Two, having a wife have a Jaguar whistle and know that that's a primal sound, like a primal fear that you have. Because I'm telling you right now, if my wife did that sound while I was sleeping, I would probably wake up in or I might die. I might just not wake up. So anyways, hopefully she doesn't ever do that, because that would probably kill me. But anyways, so this shows, oh look, Lambda to Lambda. I want Lambda into Managed Services for Kafka, and then I want to go trigger off some other Lambda service, right? Here we go, boom. Anyways, I should probably find one of those little Chichen Itza whistles. They look like these. My wife's got one now. They got a bunch of different types of them, but They are definitely loud, and they sound like a frickin' Jaguar. And you do it like a little trumpet with your hand in front of it. It's kind of funny. All right. Anyway, so we did all that. We got this configuration going, and that was a pretty solid little lab, right? So we saw everything work. We can go ahead and close that down. And that functionality is not far off from other things that I'm doing over here in the home lab, except all I'm showing you guys here in my logs and apps are, you can see people trying to log into my outside Bastion host, right? Or my Bastion node. I can even see if people do log in if I wanted to on a different page, but this one I mostly like to see people fail and get kicked out forever, right? That's kind of one of those things that amuses me. So, all right, so we got that first lab done. I think I could go floss or something here. Our next one will be, so we did Kafka right there. We can do fail to ban with monitoring and then fail to ban with alerting, but let's do the monitoring one first. So this is going to be our next lab right here. Anybody wants to do it with me? Oh wow, I've never dropped to 0 viewers on YouTube before. Apparently I managed to do it though this time. That's pretty good. Oh well, what can you do, right? Your team is testing fail to ban to protect the SSHD process in your server. We want to have an intrusion prevention system, not just an intrusion detection system. This right here is an intrusion detection system. This will watch things happen even if they manage to compromise the server. This will watch them happen and record them even if the server gets blown up. This does not care. This is just watching. But fail to ban can actually protect the process by putting it in a jail, so it actually jails the process, and then it will lock people out from being able to connect to it via certain usernames anymore. So that's kind of a nice little functionality it has. We don't normally go too much into it in the lab, but I might show you guys today that there's a bunch of other things that fail to ban can natively do. It can kind of protect some web pages as far as like how many times users can attempt to log in. However, what it'll do is kind of, since it is an intrusion prevention system, it kind of has a draconian no soup for you option where it just doesn't let you even try to connect anymore. So you're kind of hosed as soon as if you use it and somebody tries to log in 3 times and they're not able to, it could lock them out forever. I mean, it's all configurable, but I'm just telling you guys, it is definitely something that you got to think about with your customers and how you're doing all that. So. Oh, you came all the way from YouTube to say you're watching over there? My YouTube dropped to 0 concurrent viewers, Haku. That's the first time I ever saw that happen. I mean, I've had 0 viewers before, don't get me wrong. But I'm saying, like, my YouTube always has, like, at least 1 typically, and it dropped to 0. And I'm like, wait a minute. Traffic King, you've been there? Okay, well, maybe my YouTube viewer was just jacked up. I don't know. That's a little weird. So let's do this lab real quick. But as I think about it, yeah, we'll do the lab first. I was gonna go grab a drink, but we'll do the lab first. So, your team is testing fail to ban to protect your SSHD process on your server. That sounds simple enough. You've decided. Apparently, I have that word spelled wrong. So let me hold on a second here. That's gonna bug me. I gotta fix this. I don't know what that is. Get out of here. That's a thing that we've been working on. Where the heck is this? Hold on. Linux Labs. Failed to ban with log metric. Step 1 text. You've decided. Control S. Escape. Fixed. Push that up. I don't that wording. Oh shoot! I don't even know what that was. All right. So anyway, let's do this real quick. So let's build out Grafana. We're gonna have Grafana up, and then we're going to go there. Oh, actually, I forgot. We start this one on fail to ban, so that's my bad. So we're gonna install fail to ban because we know that it comes with the base packages that are configured here. Let's go ahead and get that. There are some little weird messages that looks like we're getting now, but let's make sure failed to ban still works on this newer version of Ubuntu. If you're doing the lab with me, this lab is free on Killer Coda. They are using Ubuntu 2404 now, so we do here. Right? So we should test the lab, make sure it works. I'm pretty sure I wrote this lab when they were on 2404 though, so let's check. Make sure everything works. Failed to ban is working on the system. That's good. We build it while we fly it. Yeah. There's a movie where they crash a plane, and they're like, well, we'll take the parts and we'll make another plane. And then the guy who plans the plane doesn't tell everybody that he's an engineer for a toy company. And they get really pissed at him. It's pretty funny. But anyways, let's go look at our config here. And in our config, if I do a /, right, so I click in here, / SSHD, it'll take me right here. And I'm just going to go ahead and uncomment these and then maybe hit O and do a few spaces. And I'm going to just say that SSHD can be set up right here. Right, max retry, 5. Retry, yep. Find time is within 10 minutes, and then ban time is equal to, in our case, 4 hours, but you can always set that forever if you needed to. Now, if you're doing this lab with me so that you don't get stuck, I would do a / SSHD again, and we would jump down to here, and all of this configuration needs to be commented out. Because if you just commented in, right, if you just commented in something way up there that was going to be used, you've got to comment all this stuff out so that it's no longer used. So let's do that, escape : WQ. And then we should be able to go ahead and start fail to ban, and then check it and make sure that it's running. It is running on our system. It is protecting, over here on control plane. And then we're going to SSH to node 01, and we're going to test with we're just going to do a loop 6 times against some invalid user back there. And we're going to have to hit enter, because we're trying to put in a password. And then look, after the 4th or 5th time, you just don't have a connection anymore. And we're going to not wait until SSH times out. We're just going to hit Control C. But now if we go back, right, we exit back over to control plane, we should be able to do a tail-F on var log, and we should be able to see those connections attempted to come in. And then we should see the ban happen right here. That's our ban. We're no longer getting in. So we can check if there are any banned clients, and yep, there he is. There's our guy, which happens to be the IP address that was using to come in. So that's good. So we're going to unban, right? We're going to do fail to ban. We're going to use that IP address that we just moused over, right? If you're using this, I know it's in a browser, so it's a little weird, but if you do Control-Shift-V on a box, it'll print it in there. So now we can unban it, and if we go look for any banned, there's no longer anything banned. Meaning we can go try it again to connect if we knew maybe an IP or maybe a password for that user, if that user really existed. But so we've been able to find that. We can go over, and then we can just SSH back. And that unban did work properly. So I'm going to go ahead and exit, so I'm back on the original control plane. But yeah, that worked. Did I connect back correctly? Yeah, I was able to. I have keys established, keys passed so that root works and all that kind of stuff. And we can just, with keys pushed around in the environment, my user can jump around and talk to all the devices that needs to, right? So yes, that worked. We removed the ban, and the system's now connected. So we're going to install Grafana and Loki, which is the same process we did earlier to do something like this and be able to get information. Looks like I'm having DNS query errors. Oh, sorry, I'm getting no DNS query errors, but why are my ping responses? It's a little weird. Anyways, I'm not used to seeing that graph look like that, but I guess it's good that I have no query errors. Let's go install the Grafana like we did earlier. That first one is already there, so we didn't actually have to hit that first one anymore. Yeah, we'll hit it just for fun. Then we're going to install the repository key, and then, did I do all that like I should have? No, that was my bad. I didn't download the key before I did this. All right, there we go. That was my fault, guys. Can't use the key if it's not there. I pushed my buttons out of order. All right. Did I miss anything the last week? Anybody have anything good happen to them? I don't know if anybody's been working on getting into Linux. That's mostly what I'm trying to do with you guys. I actually have work to do later tonight and early tomorrow to get some systems working for one of our customers, doing some high performance compute stuff for them. Let's reload the daemon, start the server, and then make sure that it's running good. And then if we go and we look, we don't see it running on port 3000 yet. It's not listening yet. So give it about 10 seconds or so. Again, Grafana takes a little while to start up, get all the services in order. And there it is. Now it's listening on the system. And then we should be able to go change this password. Right. Admin. Log in. Okay. Never. New password. Super, get something to remember so nobody else can get in there and mess with our lab while we're working on it, right? And then now we've got Grafana up and running out in this Killer Coda environment again, right? So now we're going to install Loki in the same little area here. So make dir for Loki, cd opt, download Loki, right? So we cd into the Loki directory. We make sure it's executable. We're copying in the config file that we want to use, copying in the service file and restarting the daemon. Then if we go look at the config is super simple. We're not doing anything crazy in here. And then the service file, super simple, literally just says start it with that config file. That's all it's doing. Enable the service and go. Traffic King, you were in Puerto Rico for a month? Nice. Were you just down there visiting people, or were you hanging with no relations? Or I guess I'm just kind of curious. We brought all our friends with us, so we had probably like 30, 35 people, if I had to guess, down there with us, so it was kind of good. We've been down there with as many as like almost 45 people or so. Are we listening? Yes. Boom. Your research, you find that Promtail can push logs over. You also just proved it in the last lab. So let's do the Promtail part and be able to push over logs. So make directory Promtail, cd in there, download the tool for Promtail, the executable as it were, right? Copy over, and now we've got a syslog and a config, and now we want to go get those fail to ban logs, var log fail to ban.log. Okay. We're going to copy that in, make sure the service file is good, reload it and start it, and make sure that the service is running. It is running good. Parents live on the beach. Nice. Nice, nice. Yeah, we were on a beach in, we were down just south of Cancun in a place called, the heck is that called? I can't remember right off. But anyways, it's just a little while south of there. It was one of the bigger resorts, so yeah, it's all-inclusive resorts, but we also leave to go wrestle in the town. So there's some wrestling gyms. It's actually a boxing gym we go to, but they have wrestling. So we set up all the pieces. So now let's set up our dashboard. I'm gonna come over here. We're gonna go check out Loki. We gotta do the same thing we did earlier. Loki. Riviera Maya. That's where we were at, by the way. If anybody cares. We'll just call it Loki this time. That's fine. We should test it and see that it works. Good. Data source was good. We're going to go to our dashboard. Going to do the same dashboard that we did before. So import our dashboard. Go get 16369 or 13639. And if you're like, wait a minute, Scott, that's moving fast. It's actually right over here in the lab. So the lab shows you all the things you need to do, right? I also say down here, change the app to fail to ban to retest your failure condition from earlier. So over here, it's auth syslog like we originally had, but there's also a fail to ban in here. So we can see that there was some fail to ban stuff happening. So it looks like that we had a ban and an unban, but can we see this right here in real time ban our system? So let's come back over here. Let's move this over here. We'll watch this. Oops, we'll watch this in real time. There's our failed to ban actions, right? Failed to ban actions over here. All right, let's go rerun one of our history commands. Actually, gonna press up quite a bit because we did quite a bit in here. But back here, I'm gonna, oh, you know, actually, hold on. SH to node 01, because we got to do it from over here. History. Let's go up to number 3 here. And I'm gonna change something here. We're gonna say, yeah, well, we'll just do it slow. So let's run it. And here's one failure. Here's another failure. We'll see it over there. Failing. Here's another failure. Here's another failure. Now we're banned. We got banned. Control C. Exit out. And then over here we should be able to, if we need to, we should be able to validate that that is banned. Get the ones that are banned. Yeah, that one's banned. That's what we see up here. There's our ban. And then we can unban him. All right, let's unban that IP. And over here on the right, you're going to see his unban get put in there. Yep, there it is. So we can see things in real time with our logging. Famous Resort, they're pretty good. Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, yeah. And if you're, I mean, if you're down in Puerto Rico, and you have family down there, that's really the way to do it, right? Have people, you know. I have a nice set of bongo drums from Puerto Rico. One of my buddies is from there, and then he was in the army, so he gave me these bongo drums that he had from there that were like handmade, which is kind of nice, you know. It's a nice little piece of culture, nice thing to remember your friend by. But okay, so look, we did that. We got this all working. We have the filter on notice. And do you see the ban and unban? So yeah, so I can put this filter up here to only look for notice, right? And it'll get rid of those other things, but then maybe I can go and, maybe I don't care about all that other noise, but I SSH to node 01, and I see that when I ban, when I get banned, it shows up over there. And then when I go back over here and I set the unban, right? By the way, there he is banned. I set the unban on him again, and I'll see that unban show up back over here. So this is really what we want to know, is can we see the things that we expect to see over here? Now look, watching stuff like this at a dashboard isn't really something you would have your network operations doing or your teams doing or whatever. But the point is, if you can move the data from here to here, you can trigger an alert. You can, right? It's kind of like if I said, hey, I got all this water over here, and you're like, and I'm 30 miles away, and I want to get the water to my plants in my little farm. And I go, okay, cool. What are we going to do? And I say, well, I don't know. And you say, I don't know. And well, there we go. You don't get the water for your plants. But if you know how to build like an aqueduct, or if you know how to dig some kind of canal, then a channel of some type or a canal, we should be able to send the water across. And this is the same way with data. If we can get the data to move the way we want it to, then we can capture it and we can monitor it and we can look at it. We can send it to different systems. We can read it out of logs. We can do whatever we want with data, but not until we move it in the right place. Hopefully that makes sense. Quartz said you spun up a Linux VM with DigitalOcean, and within 8 hours it had thousands of attempts. Oh yeah. When I used to do the AWS ones, the attempted logins for most people, or the attempted logins to most servers, was under 3 minutes. People just randomly hitting all the IPs that are known for AWS. Trying to get in on SSH, yep. Your MacBook display stopped working all of a sudden without any physical damage. It's just 2 months after end of warranty. Oh yeah, that's terrible. Sorry to hear that. Man. I would think that there would, it seems like something would be in play there if you had a display stop working. But yeah, if it's right outside of warranty, not much you can do there. Those bongos are handmade to play Puerto Rican music called Bomba y Plena for the salsa band. Nice. Yeah, Traffic, actually, one thing I noticed about them, because they're actually in this room with me somewhere. I think they're over in the closet. But they actually have a lot of give to them. You could turn them in a lot of kind of custom ways in your lap if you wanted to. So I imagine people that actually play them could loosen them and turn them and do some pretty cool stuff with it. Yeah. That's actually cool, yeah. And as we get to one of our songs that I think has some little bit of percussion in the background as well. So guys, you know, when we get to these, I really should add at the end, like, I know I say look at you learning configuration. You set up failed abandoned jail and tested it with SSH, and then you track the logs, Promtail, Loki, and Grafana. This is like a very, very simplified look at what we did in the lab. But if you really started doing this, you could say, wait a minute, couldn't I throw anything into there? Yes, you could. Couldn't I monitor anything out of one of these? Yes, you could. So you start to see how like some of my dashboards get pretty busy over here. These are my home lab ones. These are actual lab dashboards for me. I can actually see how my servers are doing in real time up and down my environment if I want to, right? And this is valuable to me, right? I can see what's going on with my different servers, and I can change between the servers if I want to, right? I can have multiple servers on here. I can have all the servers that are known about in just that one instance, right? For now, and then maybe I see just, you know, how they're being used. Are any of my systems under super high load? You know, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of kind of valuable stuff here. So. All right. So anyways, we got that running. We got that done. We did that lab. That was logged with monitoring. Scroll down a little bit. What's my opinion on Linux from scratch LFS? I've never played with it. You're thinking of trying it out? I think my thoughts on Linux are always like this. If you're doing zero Linux now, any Linux is good. If you're doing some Linux and you're like, Scott, I want to get into like doing this professionally, and I've been using Arch for like 3 years or 5 years, and nobody's picking me up with Arch on my resume, I'd say, okay, that's good. It's a good start. You're doing Linux. But then I would start to steer people that have been doing it for a while more towards the stream, like more towards the things that are going to help you get the job, which is the RHEL, you know, your Red Hat Enterprise Linux, your SUSE, and those kind of Linux that are paid for versions that people, you know, use in the corporate world. So I have no problem with Linux from scratch. I think it's probably a great place to get into Linux. From a hobbyist standpoint, it's probably fun to play around with. But then I think, like, well, if you're already doing Linux and enjoying it, you might want to move over to one that can help you get the job, especially if you're looking to get into the field, right? Which is really what I want for most of you guys. I want to get you guys into the field and show you guys how to do that. That's why we have these books. The books are free, guys. The Linux admin course here and the Linux engineering course with the security focus. These are free books. You can just go run them. You can download them. You can turn them into PDFs. There's all kinds of stuff. We run this course out of our Discord every few months. It's free. And I try to get you guys into doing this stuff and understanding like how the business wants you to interact with it. Hey Johnny man, how's it going? Yeah, I haven't been on. I was on the other day just for a little bit, but I haven't been on in, you know, almost 2 weeks because I was gone for a while. So figured I'd come on and hang out a little bit. I gotta get off of here in a little bit because we're going to a family thing, and then I also have to do a little bit of work for one of my customers. So that'll be interesting. Try to get some of that done tonight before I go back. I don't technically go back to work tomorrow. I go back to work on Tuesday, but it's kind of funny. This customer needs this stuff done, so I will be working even though it's a day off for me, and that's not that big of a deal. You know, it's fine. So our next lab, come back here, is gonna be we could do fail to ban with alerting. I'll have to pull up one of our webhooks, and I can't show that on stream. Well, you don't show webhooks on stream just because anybody that has a webhook has all the power of whatever that webhook is to interact with that API in whatever way they want. So we might not do fail to ban with alerting, but it looks just like monitoring. Usually, except we send it over into Discord when we're done. So then, you know, it pops up in Discord. I can show you guys what that looks like. Oops. If we go over here, here's our Discord. Right, Discord's free, guys. It doesn't cost you nothing. And in Sandbox, you could see when I send things into the Discord, but then also some of our guys were sending stuff in. Let me see last one that was pretty good on here that somebody sent. It was earlier in the security engineering course. Yeah, some of the guys were going through and sending in their tests and their alerts, and then they were describing, some jailed user doing whatever it was in that lab, right? This was Verse Acorn doing his tests, right? And that's cool. Like, I wanted them to put their names on it so it was easy to identify who had actually done the work, right? But then also, these are all my lab. These proc every day, right? As far as that goes, and then they say what users have done things and logged into the servers and all that kind of stuff. Which I need to fix this, because technically these are just me messing around, and then these are the real logins here, the Rocky 5, 7, 12, and 15. So, all right. Anyways, Discord's free. You guys are welcome to hang out down there. There it is over on the Twitch side. YouTube side, it's under the channel description, so you can find it all in there if you want to. The bot introduces itself to you when you join, so don't get too mad about the bot. Why don't we start with? We've done Golden Image and building a CH root jail. We'll probably do a Bastion one. We'll start with a Bastion, and then we'll keep moving forward, because I think some of these will be kind of good for you guys to see. But real quick before I do any of that, I'm gonna take a little break. So Hourglass. Here's a Hourglass. We'll just say take a break. Take 10-minute break. I'm gonna go stretch my legs for a little bit. You guys hang out. Feel free to ask questions here in the Discord. Let me know if you guys have anything you want to see or talk about. All right. El Tio Aldo, you said you like computers. Nice. I guess that's probably a good thing. It's probably a good thing that you like computers. I just got back and I'm eating while I'm sitting here, so see if there's anything good going on. Just over here a little bit. Is that still spinning? The rotate should be going. It feels like that stopped spinning though. Should be spinning. Quartz, did you drop it in Discord? Oh, you sent it directly to me. Hold on. Let me look. Let me see. That's kind of funny, Quartz. There's nothing in there that'll incriminate you, is there? Yeah. That one's pretty funny. Meme Lord. I'm actually surprised. I mean, if it was ever in the Discord, it would definitely know that I play with memes more than I should. Like if a bot was scraping our Discord. Yeah, sorry guys, I'm just sitting here munching on chips now. We'll do some more configurations here in a minute. I just don't see this thing rotating anymore. There we go. Let's see if it starts rotating again like it should. Oh, Quartz, you sent that when I walked away. Yeah. According to LM, I slip lukewarm coffee. No, I don't actually like coffee. I like I drink Monsters mostly. That thing's probably just sucked down so much information, right? Yeah, and the original place that I got the BOK, or the Body of Knowledge, comes from PMBOK, which is PMBOK, which is the Project Management Body of Knowledge. And if you ever go take, if you know anybody who has a PMP, which is a Project Management Professional Certification, when they study the PMBOK, Project Management Body of Knowledge. That's what it is, so. That's kind of funny. I almost brought this Jaguar whistle up here. I was going to show you guys this Jaguar whistle that my wife got. Absolutely terrifying sound. I'm going to have her bring it to her family's party here. We got a family get together here in about 2 hours. And we're going to drive out there and I'm going to have her play. Especially if their little yippy dog starts yipping. Because I'm telling you right now, that has there's a visceral primal component to that thing that's built into humans to be scared of that Jaguar noise. You think something's about to jump on you immediately and kill you. It's not good. So anyway, it's kind of funny little thing that my wife picked up. We were at Chichen Itza. You guys know what Chichen Itza is? This is where we were. Pretty interesting little place, guys. Never been. I had never been. Now I have. And it is a interesting little thing. So it's interesting because it's the Mayans and the Aztecs involved in building it. So it was not... Yeah. And then if you guys know what the cenotes are, or the cenotes, they call them cenotes. They are these bodies of water underground. Chicken pizza, that's funny. Super interesting. Super fun little place to go walk around. The ball court structures are still there. And they were, look, I mean, like, it was super long ago. So it's very interesting. You can read about it. They were found super dirty like that, and they were cleaned off. They did more excavations to find more stuff underneath there. It's a wild, great walk. We walked around there for a few hours. It was pretty good. Fun little place to hang out. My favorite part of it is probably not most people's favorite part, but it was my favorite part. You can't see on this image here. You can only see it on this one. So see how there's only like one door here and one door here and one door here. And then, but on this one, there's three, like, kind of bigger doors. Might not be able to see it very well. But when you stand directly in front of this staircase, anywhere out as far as you want in the field, but you're directly in front of it, if anybody claps, or if you clap, the sound rolls up these steps and comes back with this, like, ping, ping, and it sounds like a bird in the area. So it's actually interesting that they built this, and people were like, well, we don't know if the bird's mimicking the sound of the temple. And I'm like, well, who's out there clapping for the bird? Like, how would the bird have heard it? I have to imagine it was built to mimic the sound of the bird. But then it's like, but then all these other things are in it too. There's all this numerology built into it that's actually kind of interesting. For people that care about that kind of stuff. If nothing else, it's a massively large piece of, engineering to put that together. And it was a fun little place to see as an engineer. Like, I like to go look at stuff that people have built and wonder what's going on. Yeah, what's the sound? Yeah. It's a question Lisa asked Bart, right? What is the sound of one hand clapping? That was kind of fun. And then that was a chat with one of our guys. Quartz was talking to ChatGPT, and that's what it came up with about me. So I thought that was kind of funny. Doesn't he just clap his one hand? And by the way, guys, I haven't started the new lab yet because I'm sitting here eating Doritos, so I can't quite type right now. Or more correctly put, I could type. I'm just not going to type on my keyboard with my fingers dirty. But that does remind me of that old joke about if you're ever lost in the woods, what you should do is start building shelter because somebody will be along shortly to to get you to pay your taxes. Or if you're, you know, stuck in the forest, you should start talking politics because somebody will be along to argue with you about it. Or the what's the one? Oh, but the one that I like is because if you ever post a judo technique online for anybody, somebody will come out of the woodwork and correct you on it. So it's like just start talking about judo techniques, and some judo nerd will show up to try to tell you the correct name for whatever. Wait, Hayes, did you get in trouble? Did you get in trouble for technical reasons or for just admin reasons? Because I always joke around about when you tell a joke so good that HR wants to hear it, but that's not a good sign. Like if you got like a 4 o'clock meeting with your boss in HR, that's not good. Oh, that's annoying. Yeah. Yeah, that'll get you. But at least it was, yeah, at least it was in a lower environment. That's the thing about it. Lower environments have a lower blast radius, so blow them up. Because I would be spinning that like, hey, at least we found it here. So now, because if I do ever have to check anything or install anything that does have checkboxes, once I have it done, I would have the config, and then I would push and deploy the config from that if the tool allowed me to in the future, right? So then to prod, I would change all the things and just push the config, if that makes sense. I would never let a deployer in prod write a config for me if I could do it myself, if that makes sense. Yeah. Oh, deploying code over there is a clown show. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I don't know, like I don't know that tool. I just know that like when I deploy things in the lower environments, I will use whatever installer or tool they want me to. I will let it go crawl around the environment and build stuff and do whatever. But once I have like what the set built config is, then I put that into my build stuff, you know, my Ansible automations, and I push it up into prod that way, if I can. If the tool requires that, then I'll just figure out what I have to do for that or whatever. But it's just most companies aren't going to allow some tool to just build configs on the fly into their prod environment. That's kind of insanity, you know. So it's good, but anyways, it's good that that happened to you in the lower test environment, not prod. Like plugins or something. I don't even know. I'm still just eating my Doritos over here. That's funny. It's funny that I'm chaotic good. Guys, this is what ChatGPT said about me. That's funny. Yeah. Yeah, Hazen, if nothing else, I mean, you're doing it in a lower environment like you should. You weren't doing it against prod. If it's not customer facing, I mean, most mistakes that are not customer facing shouldn't really ever even be discussed about, you know, about like firing somebody. I mean, if a company were going to do that, I don't know that would be the environment I'd want to be in anyways, if that kind of makes sense. But I mean, as long as your other work's standing up, you should be fine. Yeah, Quartz, I'm definitely a Linux wizard in my own mind, right? I don't know if I'm a lizard. Lizard. I don't know if I'm a Linux wizard for real, but I am definitely in my own mind for sure. All right, guys, I'm down to the last of my chips. Maxim, I can show you my keyboard. Give me 1 second. My keyboard is not a super expensive one. Let me go grab it for you real quick. Hold on. While I'm sitting here munching on stuff. I just need to scroll back, find it. I just gotta make sure I don't have anything on here that's like anything that's like directly to my address. It looks like you can find out that I live in Glendale. See if that's better. Hold on. But it's one of these. It's one of those right there. It's not some super high top of the line keyboard or anything. So the question was, what keyboard do I use? This one. I don't even use all the key functions. I don't change color or nothing like that. Pretty good. Looks fine. It's very low on keyboard range of things. So it's got a bunch of different backlit modes and RGB modes. I don't play with any of them. I just leave it the color it is. Different brightness levels, speed. I don't mess with any of that. I just use it as a keyboard. And it looks like, for people that care, it's blue switches. So I think it feels pretty good. Yeah. I purchased one for me and then one for my wife. And these are the other ones they have. So they're like low-end boards. They're not like even mid-range. They got different colors and different things that look okay. But they've been pretty durable for me. Yeah. I mean, I'm not like trying to sell them to you or nothing, but that's what I use. They work fine. That looks kind of similar to my wife's board. She has a purple one, though. Interesting. Apparently it's going to ads again. I thought I only had ads set for like a couple minutes out of every hour or something, but it seems like it's coming really fast. Maybe it's because I've been talking a lot, I don't know. Alright, I'm done eating all of my Doritos. Quartz, I can assure you, even if I was as popular a streamer to be able to do that, my wife would be like, why are you wasting keyboards like that? Why don't you do something better with it? So, oh, we gotta check something here too. I'm gonna link this lab for anybody that wants to do it with me. Right? Whoops, what the heck's going on here? Get out of there. My system's trying to make me like cheer my own stream, which is weird. But yeah, let's do this lab while we're talking here. So we can at least feel like we're doing some work, right? But what's gonna happen here is, let me open this in a new tab so we can see what we're building. We're gonna pretend that we're going into an air-gapped environment. We're gonna come from an outside system control plane and SSH over into node 01. When we do that, we're gonna be immediately jailed. then this system that's functioning as a bastion will only allow us to jump out. We can only jump out back into control plane as an unjailed user. That's going to be like our thing. Yeah, they're just the reason they're called bastions is yeah, you can think of them as gateway servers if you want, for sure. Let's go here. So I was building the automation course out, but if we go back into the engineering course, security engineering, and when we were doing bastions here, let's pull this up for a second here. When we're doing bastions, guys, this is kind of the idea of where bastions sit. So maybe you're going to come in, and you know your bastion would be one of these nodes here. Sometimes data valet because we're moving data, or what we call data movers, and then AI ML if we had like high GPU. These are typically GPU systems that then can connect in, and then web application firewall for applications. It really depends what you're doing with your system here. But air gap. So bastions kind of look like this. There's one way in and out of the environment, right? And it is air gapped in that at the network level, there's no way to get from anywhere out here in the world. The world is over here. Our system is closed in like this. And to get in, you have to jump in through one of these systems. And some people would say, well, that's not air gapped. Okay, sure. But it is at the OSI model TCP IP layer gapped, because you have to terminate your TCP IP connection out here, and then these devices need to put you in over here to allow your traffic to continue in whatever way it's going to continue. Typically, it's like a jailed SSH communication, and then you continue your SSH further into whatever nodes are back here. All right. So let me emphasize that, and then come back over here, and then we'll keep kind of working on it. So we're going to build a jail over on node 01. If we're jailing a user or processes, we need to understand that there are things that need to be given to those processes or users so that they can survive. If you were just burying people in the desert, and I said, what are you doing? And you're like, I'm jailing those people. And I would be like, well, no, you're actually killing them. Because a person with no sunlight and no water and no air and nowhere to go poop and all that kind of stuff is pretty much just going to die. You've really just killed them, right? And it's the same idea here. If you're going to be in the business of making jails for users and processes, you need to be in the business of also keeping them alive in those jails. And that may sound kind of like I'm trying to be funny, but I'm not. I am, if it helps you to remember it. But I'm not, in that that's really what we're going to do. We're going to build this jail and give all the things that are needed for this user to be able to work. And actually, you know what's funny? I need to go reopen. I just deleted, or I just got rid of that, but now I need it again. Hold on a second. Let's see if I can. That's unit 4. Yeah, I need it again to show you guys. These are the processes to deploy a bastion for me. What I make you guys do in this lab, and what I make you guys do to understand it, is create the user or users to jail if they're not already in the system. Create the line in etc sshd_config to jail the user. Set the user to have a bastion.sh shell as their home. And then we're going to create the jail. We're going to make these directories that are needed. We're going to copy in some executables. And if we have executables, we have to have link libraries for those executables to work with, right? Copy over the library files. Those are link libraries for each of the executables. We're going to find those and push them in there. And we're going to make the devices so that the user can interact correctly. These are block devices. That should be a /dev. And these all need to exist or SSH won't work. Right? You need a trash can or like a crap bucket. You need them to be able to randomize and I don't know, think about things. Right? Random and urandom pull things from the processor. Dev0 gives it a place to find 0 if it needs it, and TTY allows for the login, right? Well, or for proper login. So these are the things that are needed in this lab. Now, this comes from a bigger talk that I have, and you can find that all on YouTube if you guys want to go do that talk and walk through it. But we're just gonna, for now, build this out, which is all of those pieces, but they're going to be explained to you down here. So We're going to SSH to node 01. We're going to make that directory that we need, var chroot. You can, if you want to, cd to var chroot, and very quickly do an ls-al and see that there's nothing in it. Now, some of you are going to go, well, Scott, you just made it, so there's nothing in it. And I'd say, okay. I just am showing you right here, there's nothing up my sleeves. I'm not tricking you in any way. Var chroot isn't already there and isn't already populated with all the things we need. We need to give it the things that we want for the jailing process to work properly. All right. So let's make those directories that we said we needed. There's a bunch of them, so we're going to make them. Var chroot, and then under var chroot, we're going to do bin, lib64, dev, etc, home, user bin, under var chroot, libs, and then lib x86 64 -linux -gnu, right? We're going to ls in there, and we're going to see all of those directories, brand new, just created. Good. And I say, what directories do we see? Yep, that makes sense for me. And then we're going to copy in the very basic little executable needed for this to work, which is user bin bash into var chroot bin bash. But that binary can't work without the link libraries for it. So I'm going to show you a little way to kind of cheat. We're going to run this real quick, and you'll see one little error. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this again, and I'm just going to delete all of this. And I'm going to say, what if we just checked an LDD of bin bash? What would happen? Well, if we did just an LDD of bin bash, we would find that bash requires this library, this library, this library, and this one right here. From a system perspective, pulling that, when look, sometimes it's, this top one doesn't matter, this is the one that errored, but this one's fine, so we don't need it. But we need this one, and we need this one, and then we need this one. So how are we going to target that with awk? Well, if we did awk 1, we would get this one, this one, this one, and this one. So we would miss on 3 and only get the 1. And if we did awk 2, we would get this bullshit. We would get this one. We would get, actually, we would get this one. We would get this one. And then we would get this one. So that would give us nothing. So we got to have a better way to look at this from like a system perspective. We got to have a better way to look at this as with awk. So what we ended up using was NF, which is the number of fields minus 1, which goes to the end of each line and goes back 1. Well, that one's a garbage one, so we didn't need it. It goes to here and goes back 1, so that's good. Goes to here, goes back 1, that's good. Goes to here, goes back 1, that's good. So the 3 that we needed are here, here, and here. And we use print NF minus 1, so number of fields minus 1 to get the right one each time. Does that make sense? If it doesn't make sense, you got to play with it a little bit, right? You got to go play with that and make sure that your mind can wrap around how that kind of works. And we're going to copy those all in. Boom. And then we're going to go and copy in some files that we need. These files are needed. So file in passwd, group, nsswitch.conf, and hosts. We're going to copy them from etc, because they're all etc files, into var chroot etc, the name of that file, done. So it looped over all of those. And then we're going to copy in some other binaries. So bash, we already had ssh and curls. We'll copy those in. And now we're going to do that same thing. We're going to look at the LDD for bin bash, which we already did, and we're going to copy those in. Then we're going to copy the one in for curl. And then, sorry, so we did SSH and curl. We already had bash done, right? Now we're going to go make each of those either dev0 or dev random or dev urandom. All of these, what they call block devices, right? These are block devices that we need to be able to connect and use that correctly. Then we're just going to copy in these last NSS files. We'll just copy all of them in because that allows you to interact with your networking properly. We're going to exit and say good. We've set up that Bastion environment. So now we're going to set up a jail and put the Bastion into it, right? So we're going to create a user on node 01 called jailed user and create a user on control plane called free user. So these are the users we need. So over here we're going to do free user. and then we're going to give them a password, and my password's going to be 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Super secure, I know. Literally nobody would ever figure that out, right? And then we're going to jump over to node 01 and give a jailed user the passwd, and his password will be very similar as well. Simple. We're going to go into his Etsy SSHD config, hit Shift G and O to go to the bottom and make a new line. And we're going to add in this configuration that when jailed user comes in, he gets dropped into a chroot directory. Escape. Boom. He's there. We're going to restart SSH so that it's now set up and configured right. And then we're going to make the Bastion script that we need and put it in the right place. So I'm going to hit I in here. And here's my little Bastion script. It's like the simplest thing. There's 4 outcomes that can happen here. Let's make sure we go all the way to the bottom. There's 4 outcomes that can happen here in the shell that we're going to give this user. Right? Super simple to see. It's bin bash. We're going to input a number, and it's going to read up to 2 characters if we want it to, or in this case, there's only 2 options and they're 1 character, but that's fine. We're going to give them 20 seconds to do it. And then we're going to say, make your selection. You have 20 seconds. Connect to control plane as free user or exit. Down here, the case of things that can happen is they can type in 1 and be sent over there. They can type in 2 and be asked to leave. They can type in anything else and they'll get kicked out. Or they can wait the 20 seconds and they will go down here and exit the case structure and get kicked out anyways, right? Because they would never drop into the case structure because they never add anything. It's just the read is only going to wait 20 seconds and then it's going to go here. So those are the 3 possibilities. You can do what you want, right? You can do the correct thing. You can exit on your own terms. You can thrash around and exit, or you can wait and exit. Either way, you're exiting. Right? Either way, you're getting out of that environment. You can't hang out in the jail. We don't want people to hang out in there too long. So we've saved that. We're going to copy that over, and then we're going to make sure that it's executable. And we're going to go into our Etsy passwd and go to the bottom, and we're going to change this line right here from bin sh to bin bastion. Right? That's going to be his shell for the jailed user. We're going to copy in that new Etsy passwd down there so that we have it all, and then we're going to exit. All right. So we've done all these things. We've exited back out. Okay, good. So we've got that part set up. Now we're going to test our Bastion connection. We're going to test if we can jump from control plane into Bastion node 01 as the jailed user. Do we have those 4 functionalities, those 4 behaviors happen as we expect them to? And then if we do the one that's good, we get dropped over here as an unjailed user, and we can see the environment correctly as we want to. Okay? Oh, and I had a question about the character devices and block devices. Character devices tend to read data in streams, right, as a stream of characters that are not fixed block sizes. So they're typically things like keyboards, mice, serial, sound cards, those kind of things. And then your block devices, you read data out of blocks of information, kind of like your block devices tend to be your disk. And then the blocks are typically defined by the file system that you've written to that, if that kind of makes sense. So hopefully that, I hope that's clear as mud over there. That's how I look at them. There's a bunch of other information that we can kind of look at on them. You can see them down in dev, right? And you can see if they are character stream with C, or if they have the B, they're the block devices, right? So B typically denotes block devices, and then C is a character device, right? Meaning that it's reading as a stream off of it. Okay, but before we get too far into that, now it's time to test your Bastion system. Let's connect over. Let's make sure that things are working like we expect. So I'm just going to CD back into our root directory. And then we're going to go look. Hostname, we're on our box control plane. Let's SSH over there as the jailed user and use his 1234567 password. And I have been dropped into a shell that I'm going to wait 20 seconds while I'm hanging out with you guys here. Just going to hang out with you guys a little bit. And let's see if the one use case of 20 seconds causes us to get kicked out. You could also set that to lower if you wanted to as well, right? All right, it kicked me out. Let's go back in. We need to use our password. We're not even getting into the jail until we use our password. And let's go ahead and use 2 to exit properly. Okay. Go in there again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. And then now I'm going to just type in... I typed in JL, and that's not a valid input, so that kicked me out. So we've tested 3 of the use cases. Our last use case is 1. We're being sent over there. Do we want to connect? Yes. Password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if this worked, I should be an unjailed user back on control plane. Yeah. Can I get to Google? Sure. Oh, document moved, whatever. But the point is, I can see these things. I can do these different tools. I am not jailed. And when I exit out, do I go land back in the jail, or do I get zippered all the way back out of the environment? No, I get zippered all the way out. There's no waiting at node 01. I get kicked out. Right? There's nothing else for me to do inside of that jailed environment. All I had for my user to log in and touch or do anything is not bash. I only have that bastion.sh shell, which is a loop and then a kickout. That's all it is. You might say, Scott, how effective is this? I've built this into multiple big government systems for the U.S. Many, many big ones going to many, many big environments. Now, you might say, well, Scott, isn't that a lot of giving it away? No, there's a lot of other things involved, but the functional structure of building the jail, jailing a user, using it as a bastion to allow connection into the further devices on a different network, that's all you need right there, those components that I just showed you. We do that in my home lab for people to get in and do ProLug labs with us. We do that then, there's just a bunch of different functional things that you can do with jails that are super useful for you guys. We do have a recording on it. It's in the it's week 4 of the systems engineering course. And we talked through all of this, and then we built all of this. So it's the same thing that we just looked at here. Jailed user, unjailed user, right? And then what is the jailing and different ways that you can jail are all included in there. And then, how we SSH and then how we build it out. So, all right. So we get to the end of that, and we did hit submit to finish the lab. It says you tested and verified that you were able to pass the user through to the FAR system by way of the Bastion host. Reflect on your understanding, and then what do you need to go learn more about or spend more time with now to be more effective? That's my question to you, right? I feel like, this is good, solid understanding. Like you say, Scott, I want to make a change. I want to understand a thing. Okay, you go spend some time reading about it, and you get the theory of it. You go spend some time touching it and building it, and you get the practical application of it. And then you kind of back up and you internalize it with reflection on what the thing is that you did. How does the theory that you understood work with the practical? How does the theory inform the way you built the practical? Do you look at it and go, well, Scott, the things you said and the things we just built are slightly different in this way? And which I would say, well, then you're probably right. Because look, we have this old saying in engineering, 1 test is worth 1,000 expert opinions. I could sit here all fucking day and be like, we're on a RHEL box, we're on a RHEL 7 box, and you'd be like, no, go ahead and I don't think that's right. And I could be like, hey, we're on a Linux 2 kernel, and you'd be like, I don't, man, I bet we got a way to check that, Scott. And I'd be like, yeah, you're right, we do. I'm an idiot, right? And how would we check it? You guys know this. There's our version of the system, and uname-a or uname -R just to see the kernel. No, we're on 6.8. We're on a way newer kernel. This is super new kernel, right? So my point is, we consider, it's not to be, again, it's not even to be argumentative here. I'm just telling you, when you go learn something, it's a good thing to do when you're done is to sit back, sip your coffee, you know, have your, you know, dinner or whatever, and reflect on what you did. Reflect on, and I always tell you guys, like when we're doing discussions, like what is it that you didn't know about this that you now do? What is it that you, or, you know, what was new? How would you apply this to your current daily job or whatever? And I know when we were doing this, people were telling me, they were like, yeah, I immediately started doing that in some of my systems. And I'm like, good, this is, having an understanding of this can be very valuable to you in your career, right? So, yeah, so this is, you know, we build systems, we understand them. I had a really good, I have a thing I'm going to start building into all my course syllabus where it shows, you know, how we build things and what the terminology is and how we learn. I think it's, I have it somewhere. I have to go look it up, and I'm going to start adding it in as one of my little discussion points as a methodology, and that's kind of good. So, okay. So hopefully that's clear as mud for you guys, right? That's all good. I think I have to, let me see my time. I do have to leave soon, so the wife's coming home. I got to get off of here soon, but how about this? I will be back around, probably not later tonight. Grunt Play, that's a great name, by the way. I was, if you guys don't know, I was a grunt in the Army. I was an infantry guy. I was 11 Bravo. If in the U.S. Army, by the way. And if anybody cares, I got my EIB and my CIB both first tries, which is kind of funny. There's not any really. Oh, Grunt from Warcraft 3. Fair enough. Yeah, that's the yes, my lord. Stop touching me. Stop touch. Yeah, the grunt from Warcraft was funny. He used to say yes, my lord. Okay, and he had these funny little lines in the original Warcraft games. Those were funny. Those were great. Oh, my lord is from the humans. Yeah. That's right. He's like. I don't know, whatever he said, though, he was always, like, grunting. Yeah. I haven't played, man, I don't think I've played a Warcraft game since late 90s. And then I played World of Warcraft for many years. Yeah, Zug, Ford Horde, yep. I was a big, I played a lot of World of Warcraft, the original, up until level 70, and then I got out. So we were at 60 for a long time, by the way. And then my guild, we had cleared all the way through Cthulhu. And then, well, actually, it was Cthulhu, and then we did, what was it, Naxxramas. And we had killed like 6 of the, I don't know, I think there were like 12 or 16 bosses in Naxxramas. And we had killed like 6 of them or something. So we had done okay, but we were really slowing down because there was a bunch of people who couldn't commit to actual raids. And that was back when raids were 40 people, so that was hard to organize. Because people just didn't, now WoW's cooked. Yeah, I think one of my brothers still plays WoW. And I don't have time for it. I saw all the memes about all that stuff, so I didn't know all the things going on, but I saw a lot of that. So, but Grunt, I appreciate you following me. We're gonna drop off of here, and actually, I don't even have enough people to raid anybody, so I'm not gonna worry about it. But you guys are welcome to hang out. We've got Discord, right? Discord is for people that want to get into Linux. People that want to hang out with other people. And, yeah, this is what we do. So, we hang out in there and do all that. Yeah, Grunt, if you hop on there, I'll raid you. That's fine. That'll work. Maybe people will go, hang out over there. So, that's always fun. Yeah, for other people, though, hop in. The course books are up there. You can go look at those. Those are completely free, right? I'll link those for people that want it. On the YouTube side, I won't link these. It'll just be in the it's in the description. So, you know. Yeah, I appreciate that, Hayes. I'll have a good day. For the rest of you guys, though, I will see you guys later on this week. We'll be working on stuff. We'll be making sure that people know that there's a place to go hang out and work on Linux and getting into Linux with other people. And we'll go from there. All right, let me see if Grunt plays on. Let's see. We'll try that real quick before we go. All right, take care, guys.